business model for the evening news programs doesn't really work very well anymore. And this is why. The emergence of all the choices afforded by cable, direct broadcast satellite, the fact that people can throw a DVD into their machine or a videotape or whatever it is, has resulted in a shrinking audience. It's still large, but it has shrunk. And as a percentage of the overall audience, it has really shrunk. The network news divisions were started on a sort of a non-business-like basis. They were there to help the companies in which they operated to get the FCC to renew their licenses every year. Now the networks themselves as networks aren't licensed, but they're all built on a chain of core stations, which historically made money so fast you couldn't waste it. I mean, they were just licenses to print money. They were just unbelievably profitable. And those key stations, and most of them were located in the major cities: New York, Washington, or New York, Chicago, L.A., San Francisco, a couple others, were the core of the networks. And every year they had to go to the FCC and say, please renew our licenses to use the public airwaves for our stations. And by the way, we're a public-spirited company who deserves this, and one reason we deserve this is that we do this news program, which we distribute to all our affiliates, and we lose a ton of money on it, but we do it as a public service. Aren't we good boys? Please renew the license. So if they lost money, it wasn't good, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't the worst thing. And they started it, of course, it was a hybrid. It was a medium that created out of none before it existed. Radio had existed. Movies had existed. So they had this blending of the technologies and the practices of the two. And a lot of the stuff they did was ludicrously inefficient. They used to have 4-member crews. Now we're down to practically one. But it used to be 4-member crews. And they spent money. Like, I can remember when I was at ABC News, the contract with the technical people, with the union representing the camera crews, they traveled first class. And the camera could not be checked because it was fragile, and you had to get it off. So they would take it on the plane with them. They bought a seat for the camera. Innumerable reservations were made at ABC News when I was there for a man named Mr. Ike Gammy, because Ikegami was the brand of the cameras we used, and they had to have a seat for the camera. Well, the result was they spent money like drunken sailors. They lost money. It didn't matter. Then everything changed. When cable came in, license renewal diminished as an issue because there were so many choices. They began to cut back. The audience growth had slowed, and they're squeezed. Now, look, they've cut back, they've shaved their costs, they've done a lot they can, but the process continues. Your costs are always going up inexorably. Your audience isn't growing very fast, which means your ad revenues can't grow very much. Your business model is not a growth model. It's the management of a shrinking undertaking. And the result is that bureaus have been closed, personnel have been cut. You see it all the time. It continues all the time. And the heyday of network news is over, and I doubt it will ever return.